Welcome everyone to How to Speedrun Minecraft. This is a podcast that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I'm gonna be talking to various top Minecraft speedrunners about like their mindset, how they speedrun Minecraft, and why they speedrun Minecraft. So for episode 1, we are joined with Meebie.
Hey,
Meebie, you've been a top runner for a decent while now, but you didn't even start speedrunning that long ago, right?
yeah, my kind of the start was I have an IRL friend who I've known for many years that has actually been in this community for a while now, and he had offered me to learn how to speedrun probably the beginning of 2022, and I was always kind of putting it off, but in September I finally, accepted the offer, and that's kind of when I got into it.
Mm-hmm. That's like crazy to me because I feel like we're from very different eras of Minecraft
Yeah.
speedrunning. I started like summer of 2020, which was one of the first big booms,
Hmm.
which is when 1.16 first came out. So it's
Jeez.
like very, very different. I remember
Yeah.
like one cycling was kind of like just becoming a thing in RSG.
That's insane.
Yeah. And
I don't know if
there's
I've
a no, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I don't know if I've ever seen a speedrun where they didn't like do a one cycle. I can't think of any like I don't think I've ever watched a run that was like a world record or anything in like a pretty modern version where they didn't do a one cycle or a zero cycle.
Yeah, no,
Was it
it
just like
was
full bow?
yeah, it was full bow, and if you killed the dragon in like 2 cycles, that was considered like very good.
Jeez.
It was crazy. And then people, SSG runners were doing 1 cycle by that point, but it wasn't like people didn't, I don't know, for whatever reason, they didn't think it was great for RSG for a while. And then people started doing it, but they only did it to do like a little bit of damage to the dragon because they had no idea how to time the beds. So it would perch, you would blow up 4 beds, get like 10% of the dragon's health, and then you would just do that again. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's like crazy seeing how long it took for some of the strategies to come to fruition. Like
Yeah.
speaking of someone who I joined and there wasn't any like huge innovations besides like maybe stuff like bow die or I mean preemptive was fairly new when I joined, but like this knowing that like people would just ignore bastions for like the first while of 116 is so crazy because it's like of course you want the gold. They give you everything you need.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's insane.
I think in general, people always are like apprehensive for change and like new tech,
Oh yeah.
and it takes forever to adopt things.
I mean, it's something that I mean, this is like probably the biggest benefit of joining late is that you never really have to worry about fixing bad habits because you just learn all the best stuff immediately. It's like when
Mm,
I joined, everything was pretty solved. I learned like bastion routes that I learned are still the best today. Like, I got set up with like learning how to use calculator and stuff like that. And I mean, it's such a huge advantage to not have to like, you know, force yourself to like give up these year-old habits that you've spent so much time working on to like try and like learn something new because it's really not easy.
yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And a lot of it also is like if you're an older speedrunner, sometimes you have like an older mindset. Like I don't know, examples like Kuryoi doesn't want to use a calculator.
Yeah, and I mean there's also like a play style, like a preference thing, but yeah,
Hmm.
definitely like I think you can see it in a lot of runners. Like I think a big example is like L shape versus 2x1 because like
Yeah.
it's a bit more nuanced because like it is just more difficult, and like there's some situations where you don't really want to do it, like with one door. But like I think I think that a lot of runners are so hesitant to like make the step of like I'm gonna practice 2x1 for an hour every day and like try and learn all these new situations when it's so easy to be like I can just do this L shape. I'm so consistent at it, and what am I gonna save like half a second every run?
Hmm.
It's hard to like justify making that move when it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty small like time save or improvement.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about that as a topic, like
Hmm.
practice versus runs. So like
Hmm.
putting in an hour every day just for this like I don't know 1 2 second time save of a portal. Like how do you
Yeah.
feel about that? How do you approach those kinds of things?
I mean, I think a big advantage of again joining late is like I learned all those things, but even then is like whenever I think I've learned something that even if it's a pretty small like upgrade, if I think I can get good enough at it that it'll save me time every run, I think it's really worth putting in a lot of time to learn it. And obviously it's going to depend person per person. If you can only play Minecraft like, a couple hours a week, like it's going to be hard to justify
Yeah.
switching to 2x1 because it's going to take so long to get super consistent at it, and you only have so much time to play. But um I don't know. I think that if you're willing to put in the time and learn things like that, learn this new portal build or learn this new bastion route or this new zero cycle setup. They're really small things, but I think that in general, the runners who are willing to put in a lot of time to like learn these things, even if it takes hours and hours a day, they end up being the best at whatever. I
Hmm.
mean, if you want an example, Priffin is like I think the shining example of that because he always is just like trying to think of better ways to do things. He sees what other runners do and like uses that to like kind of base off what he does. And I mean, in ranked for months, he was just the best by far because he did everything so well and so optimally. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
going off on a tangent
No, no,
there.
no, that's good. The funny thing about Prune to me is he'll like I don't know, I think he jokes about this himself. He'll do like 3 hours of practice and then like 30 minutes of actual
Yeah.
runs.
Yeah, I think that's another. I know you want to talk about mindset a lot in the beginning, and I think it's really
Yeah.
important because I think that it's hard to like RSG is really hard to like run and do for a long time because if you're resetting well, it's really boring. And like I can totally understand runners that like do way more practice and runs because it is just more fun. You're doing
Hmm.
these portals and these zero cycles that are really entertaining to like get better at, and you're actually doing something. But when you get kind of stuck in that wall overworld cycle, it can get really really boring. It's hard to like be in the right mindset for that.
Yeah, I feel like you're one of the runners who is definitely like so committed to the resetting. I
Yeah.
don't know, like everyone there's some people who are like really, really good at archery, but even still they play out a lot of runs or things of that nature. But where
Yeah.
where do you see yourself in that spectrum?
I mean, I've never been like perfect. Everyone always has some moments where like, I'll play out this run for
Mm-hmm.
practice, or I'll play out this overworld even though it's a little bit slower than I thought. But I feel really motivated because I think that I can. It's probably a bit of luck too, but I really have seen the results of how like good reset efficiency can help you. Like every time I commit to kind of just like I'm gonna be stricter on this or I'm gonna focus on improving this. And if you really commit to that for like a long time, you can see like, oh, I'm getting more forts on pace, or I'm getting way more nethers per hour and stuff like that. And it's hard to like kind of how do you say it? Like it's hard to commit to something like reset efficiency because it means you're playing less. And the
Yeah.
whole issue with it is that you are playing the game less. You're spending more time just resetting, and you're being more strict. And I mean, the seeds you're resetting aren't even terrible. They can still be good. But I think it's easier for me because every single time I kind of decide I'm gonna go stricter, I'm gonna really push myself and see what I can achieve. I always get rewarded with better pace than I've
Mm-hmm.
ever had before and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like looking at your YouTube channel, you've gotten like so many runs lately.
Yeah, and I mean a big part of that, I can't lie, it's 100% luck. But something I tell people a lot is like there's two main factors that you can control that you can use to balance out getting unlucky or like to get more lucky, and it's how
Uh-huh.
much you play and it's how efficiently you play. So
Mm.
I mean, a big reason I'm getting all this pace is because I'm putting in these like 10-hour sessions because it's Christmas break and I have a lot more free
Yeah.
time. But I mean, I've also, if you look at like my stats for the other day, I had in like 8 hours, I think 3 bastion enters. But the thing about those
Wow.
bastion enters is that two of them entered the fort, and one of them blinded sub 5, and one of them blinded like sub 6. Like,
Mm.
if you're willing to just kind of sacrifice all of those like fun times playing the game, routing the nether and stuff, and you're willing to just like really push yourself, you're gonna be getting on the best pace you've gotten in a while because you're only gonna be playing those great seeds with great iron. You
Mm-hmm. No,
know.
I know what you mean. I think AA is something that a lot of people view as like you just get to play the game.
Hmm.
But for me, like I know a couple other A runners, top A runners think this way, but like I always try to never play out a non-PB run in AA.
Hmm.
Versus like Feinberg who plays out, I don't know, like two 5Xs, which is like 30 minutes slower than its PB.
Yeah.
But also he's like streaming, getting content off of it, so
Yeah.
it's a different thing.
I think that's also like a pretty big factor in a lot of runners too. I think I also try to kind of segue into a different topic, but
No, you're good.
I also think that like streaming is a big part of it, because I think if you reset harder, you a lot of times you're gonna get like lower viewership, and it's
That's
gonna be more
true.
boring, and people might backseat you a little more and be like, "Are you gonna play seat or what?" Like snarky comments. But I think just like in general, like you don't have to reset at your best at all times. It's no because in like speedrunning is still a hobby thing, and it is like for
Mm-hmm.
fun. So like if you enjoy streaming and playing out runs, like you should. If you probably are gonna get less like really good pace than if you were to reset hard. But I mean, it's definitely like a totally fine play style. I mean, people like Feinberg, even at 80%, he did that. He would play every run pretty consistent, get all these sub tens, and I mean, it was great for viewership. It was awesome to watch it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely like kind of I don't know if I'm just like this is a placebo thing, but I feel like there's been a shift since when I started. Like a lot of top runners are like no mic, no face cam. They're just like, blasting their music and going as fast as they can. It's just
Yeah, and
like
I mean,
yeah, there's a
God, sorry.
big shift in like the entirety of Minecraft speedrunning as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think it's not a coincidence, right? I think that like when runners are really going like putting their head down, they're not really like using face cam or interacting too much with the chat, because they're just so like locked in, you could say, or focused on just like getting PB pace, or getting good runs. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
it may not be great for streaming, but like to focus that hard and like really commit is really good for getting good pace, and that's what makes you a top runner. It's like getting all of this pace, you know, getting
Yeah.
all these good runs.
And with like Crooks, he started to just like pick up viewers because he was just always on pace. So people got pace pal, they went to his stream, and then eventually they realized that like what's the point of leaving and then like coming back every hour when you can just like, watch him.
Yeah, I mean, skill is of course a huge part of like being entertaining, like being a who people want to watch as a streamer, right? It's like some
Mm-hmm.
people say there's like two big reasons: you're entertaining or you're good. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of runners fit both really well, but I mean, when you're a no mic, no face cam runner, if you want viewers, you're gonna have to, really be putting in the work or the results on in any percent.
Mm-hmm. Has viewership ever like mattered to you at all?
I mean, I like to act like it doesn't, but I've definitely had moments where I like get
Yeah,
frustrated because I notice people are leaving, and I'm like, is it because I'm playing bad today? Is it because I'm in the kind of a cold streak? But
I
I mean, I don't
see.
think I let it affect me too much. But I mean, it's definitely hard to ignore. Like when
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing runs and I'm in kind of a tough session where it feels like I'm just not getting any seeds, and I look over and it's maybe the viewers is a little lower than my average. I just kind of feel like it makes me feel worse about it. But
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I feel
yeah,
like everyone who streams cares about it on some level. Otherwise, you would just like do
yeah,
offline.
yeah, of course. And I mean, yeah. I mean, you said it exactly. Like you wouldn't be streaming if you didn't care about, at least to an extent, viewership. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I had another funny topic I was gonna ask. I just lost it.
Shoot.
But we can go to this. Like, I just want to ask, like, why are you sticking with Minecraft speedrunning? Like, what is it that you're like so? What motivates you?
um, I think I think a lot of my like dedication is a huge like I think I've gotten really lucky, and it's made it really easy to like set goals and commit to them, because I've really achieved everything like my previous goals. I've kind of like met them faster than I expected.
Mm,
And a lot of that is like maybe I didn't set good enough goals, or like of course I get lucky. I had my old PB was some 100 block ocean exposed run, and I mean, I think that it's easier to be committed when you get a lot of results, because it really feels like you're progressing more normally. When a lot of people, you can go days, weeks, and months without getting a single good run, and it's not your fault at all. Like
mm-hmm.
people can just get unlucky. But to go back to why I'm sticking with Minecraft, I've actually never speedrun any other game.
Uh-huh.
I had never really been in any speedrunning community before Minecraft. Like I'd watched some Summoning Salt videos, and I knew vaguely about like N64,
Yeah.
like Super Mario. But no, I think the reason I'm so comfortable with Minecraft is because I think it really is just like a perfect speedrunning game. Even though it is really different from any other game in that there's a lot of RNG, there's a lot of resetting. I feel like every aspect of it is just so perfect. I mean,
Wow.
I don't know who it is that made the the conspiracy that it was made for speedrunners, but it feels like it just has to be because like I mean, bastions have everything you need. I mean, the decisions you can make, like leaving on 5 versus leaving on 6 versus um, I mean, different like navigation strategies in the stronghold, or I mean, different like the end fights, zero cycle existing. To me, it feels like there had to have been like some sort of thought put into it for speed in like a
Really?
speedrunning perspective. It really feel like it's a conspiracy, and it could just be complete BS. But it really feels like every part of this game is like too good to be true. Yeah, if that
Mm.
makes sense, maybe.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. There's like a ton of really small things in 1.16 that just make it work.
Yeah.
Like Piglins were literally added like the next subversion.
Yeah, they just had to like sneak in a version or two where you wouldn't have to worry about brutes and you could just, Bastions would be just so perfect for getting all this stuff.
There is like one tiny mechanic in 1.16.1 that I think they added in like point 2 or point 4 or something. If you throw a pearl on like a bubble column, it doesn't like bounce up and down. So you can't like do
Really
anything cool with that. And then they changed it in like a
interesting.
subversion. Cause I was looking into this for like AA. I wanted to see if you could like
Hmm.
um what I forget what it's called. Like you hang a pearl with pearl stasis chamber.
Oh, Stacey, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I was thinking like, I don't know, you make it go off when you're like 20k out from spawn,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
it didn't work.
really. And that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, random thought.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you you really enjoy it. Do you is like getting the world record like also a big part of your motivation?
Yeah, I think it was always like a sub 10 or a sub 9 or something like that. But I think when you're like now that I've gotten so close to like world
Mm-hmm.
record and I've gotten on like I would say world record pace,
Yeah.
I it makes me really motivated knowing like I think that's how luck has like affected my motivation is like when you get a run where you get on pace for something, that's when you really kind of realize, oh, I can do this. I had all this time lost in this
Mm-hmm.
run and this was still such amazing pace. I can totally, get a run like this. I can commit to it. Uh,
No,
and
I
I
know exactly what you mean.
And I mean, of course, world record is like a huge motivator because I mean, who doesn't
Yeah.
who doesn't want a world record in something,
How long do you think you've been thinking of yourself as a world record contender?
Um, I mean, I've had a lot of imposter syndrome. Um,
Uh-huh.
just because like I mean, if it's like I'm a newcomer, I have a lot of lucky runs, and like when I look at other runners that are considered top runners, I just look at them like, wow, I feel like I'm not even close to them at all. I think it was maybe when I got like a second sub 9.
Mm.
Because my first sub 9 PB when I got the 810 was like such a lucky run, and I feel like I played it well, but just so much lined up for it to be good, and I felt really like, oh, maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe it was just, it's like doesn't really show. I'm not really that skilled. But when I got another sub 9, and it was a really like, 20 obby run, I like I don't know. It felt a lot more like traditional and like it wasn't insanely
Mm-hmm.
lucky. There's a lot of really big issues with the seed, and getting such a good time on that seed really like made me feel like I could accomplish something pretty cool. I guess that's maybe what motivates me, or what made me realize
Mm-hmm.
that I could do it.
That's kind of crazy to me. You were literally like within 30 seconds of the world record, and your mindset was like, "Oh, this is just like a fluke."
I mean, if you really look at the run, it's like it's so lucky and so unlucky. Like having all those wither skeletons and having
Yeah.
5 for 13 rod rates is really just it's crazy that either of those things changing and it's just the world record. But I
Mm.
also at some point thought if that one run would be world record. And to me, I mean, this is like I mean, maybe people wouldn't agree, but I felt like it would be a disgrace to the category for a
Really.
run like that to beat a run like Xalanox's because his run is just so amazing. It's such a good seed. He plays it so well. He makes all these really great calculated decisions, and I
Mm-hmm.
I would really feel bad even if I played the run well to beat it just because I went 5 for 5 and hit some stronghold 100 block ocean exposed portal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's of course it's like you don't does like every good run's going to be lucky, and in a sense like that run was less lucky than Xalanox's because the overworld was worse and my rates were worse and the fort, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, all these things were unluckier. But I sort of thought of if I got world record with that run, and I feel like I wouldn't have been satisfied and I would have just kept going, kind of like maybe like
Mm.
no fear, although I'm not sure what his intentions are. The grinding is crazy after getting
Yeah,
that
he
run.
puts in
But
so much time.
yeah.
No, it's funny. You made me like think of, do you ever like reset even if it's good pace, if you make like a really dumb mistake and then you're like, I don't like this run.
Um, maybe to a sense. I think in the overworld a lot. Like sometimes I'll craft an iron hoe, and it's like you can go try and do bucket lists, or you can make a gold pick, and I'm just like, I just don't want to play it anymore, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I actually have a run recently where I crafted an iron hoe, and it was like a sub 7 port room or something, and it was like
That's
someone
really
commented.
funny.
I didn't even rewatch the run, and they're just like, "Why do you make an iron hoe?" I'm like, "Oh no," but no, I think I'm not too worried about stuff like that because like funny things in a world record is like it's totally fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a funny thing and like maybe the blaze and like Xylonox's run flying
Hmm.
out 1,000 blocks away or
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
there's like small things in that. Like he makes two and
Yeah,
FNSs.
the TNT.
And there's a lot of funny things in older world records, like Effie forgets fire
Hmm.
charges, wastes like 10 seconds or whatever. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it just makes it more memorable. It makes it more like
Uh-huh.
it gives the run personality maybe. Like I really like the reason I thought back is like honestly the only reason anyone mentioned my old PB when it was fourth place is if they had some fort with a million wither skeletons, you know? Because it's like,
Hmm.
oh, it's the Meebie fort because you have to punch off a million withers. But I think it made me realize that like there is a lot of value to your run having some crazy, funny, memorable, wacky thing about it. And I think it's
Uh-huh.
not a bad thing. Even if it's like a mistake or like a dumb misplay. Like I think I think it's like it's worth it to play that still.
Hmm. And then I think for me, I don't know about for you, sometimes like the opposite. Like if there's something really weird or funky, I feel like more motivated to play the run.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, I mean, I have good reset efficiency, but I can't tell you how many jungle temples I've routed in the last few months. Like, I don't know. The idea of like something like a jungle temple sub 10, or I had
Yeah.
yesterday I had a sub 6 blind where I didn't even do a bastion route. I had a gold pick, so I just traded the gold in top housing and I got everything. Like runs like that are just so funny, you know. It's like
Yeah.
it's definitely worth the playing if it's like some goofy wacky run, even if it's not going to be exactly what you want, you know,
Hmm.
because it is just for fun and you know you do want some runs you can like kind of be proud of and you know look back at and laugh, you know, I think
Hmm.
it's an important
Hmm.
thing.
The problem with me, I get like really hung up on like my dumb mistakes. So when I'm doing AA, if I make like one mistake like an hour and a half in, I just like even if the run is going well, I like get really mad at myself and I think it starts to like affect my gameplay. It's
No,
pretty bad.
I totally get that, and I think it's honestly like a big advantage of any percent is that the runs are so
Hmm.
fast that like you don't even really have time to think a lot of the time until it's like a run killer. Like
Yeah,
I think, and I had this run yesterday that I was going to second portal chords at 5:05, which is by far the best pace I've ever been on, and
that's
maybe some of the
crazy.
best pace anyone's been on because it was 800 away. I had zero,
Wow.
blah, 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 all this stuff. Like the run was really good, but just the mistakes I made in that run. It's such tiny mistakes. Like when I entered the Nether, it was an instant bastion, and I unpaused too soon, and because of that, I had zombie pigs, and because of that, I lost 30 seconds in the bastion. And I think thinking back, like every mistake I make, even if it's so tiny, if it ends up like impacting the run, I get so mad at myself, and like
Hmm.
I just feel like that run's really lived rent free in my head the last couple days because like it's just it's so frustrating to like I don't know, to think that like that like, oh, I did this, I made this dumb mistake, and now it like ruined this potential run. And I
Hmm.
think in AA it's hard because you have all this time when you're flying around, and like there's not too much to think about besides like what's happened and what's going on. You know, it's like I think
Yeah.
it's easier to like kind of live rent free in your head. So
Yeah,
maybe a
yeah, yeah.
disadvantage of AA in a sense.
Are there any like choked runs that are like still in your mind from like I don't know a month ago or a long time?
Um, I mean, it's sadly enough, it really is just that run 2 days ago because that
Yeah.
should have just been like world record portal room or some sub 6 stronghold, and those are two things that I've wanted for so long. And
Hmm.
thinking that these tiny decisions in the run lost such incredible pace, and it was still like a blind PB and one of the fastest paces ever with all his mistakes. It's really just frustrated me because I up to that point I felt so ready for if I get a good seed I'm gonna play it well, I'm gonna get a good
Hmm.
time, and it really showed that like I still make mistakes and I can still mess up a good seed, and it kind of and maybe like brought me back to earth, like humbled me a bit
Mm.
if that makes sense.
What do you think it would take for you to get over it? Just to like beat the pace, match the pace?
I don't know. I think I'm trying to just think forward. You know, I'm trying to
Yeah.
like that seed is a great learning opportunity for some mistakes that, even though I don't think about them, can happen, and I need to be able to like kind of use that run as motivation of like, I know what to do in the situation now. I know what I did bad on world record pace, so next time it happens, I can think about these few things I need to change, and I'm ready. But I feel like to totally get over it, I probably need to like PB or something. You know, I think every time I've PB'd any sort of like choke in the past, even if it was really good pace, it kind of just goes away because, you know, I beat my fastest run. Like it's you have to feel pretty good about that no matter what, you know.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. From watching how much pace you're meeting, I think you'll PB within like a month or two max.
I really hope so. I mean, I don't know. I'm back in one of those periods where I leave on 5 rods a lot and I just never get to 2i. But I think, I mean, if you want to talk about that next, I could go on for forever
Yeah,
about
sure. 5 or
rods.
6 rods. No, this is fascinating to me.
Yeah, because I was surprised that I got some like feedback from people about leaving on 5 in that run. But to me, when you're on, this is like debated, but when you're on world record pace, even if it's like pretty clear of like a sub 630 end enter, like you still need to like save time whenever you can. And I think leaving on 5 versus 6 is like a really good opportunity, because if you're in the fort split and you can go to chords, but you're waiting for more blaze rods, like that could realistically last so long. Like if you get a one spawn of a blaze, that's a 50% chance that's plus like 30 seconds to nothing, you know? And I think really when you're getting onto these like runs where, oh, I have to be in the end at 6:30 or else I literally just can't world record, even with a great perch. Like you, even if it's such good pace, like a 5 minute like going into second portal chords, like I feel like you can just get trapped, and it's really important to just be like, I'm okay taking this risk. It's a 66% chance the run, or like a 70% chance the run's just gonna die, but I just have to take that risk, you know.
Mm.
And I
Does
think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that maybe how motivated you are is also a big part of that, because every time I would lose a run to being a 0i or like a 1i when I needed to, it was more of like, I've gone on this pace, I'll get on this pace again, and if I keep leaving on 5, statistically 1 in 3 runs I'm going to enter the end, you know. And if it means I'm getting pace that's, you know, this much faster than it should, I think it's worth it, because, you know, that's how you PB, is you take risks, and you know, you play for those 30% chances and whatnot.
If you were on like super insane pace and you knew that like you could probably go for 6 but you already have 5, would you go for it, or would you, I
Uh,
don't know.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the Priffin run, his PB now, the
No, I haven't.
803, but he has 5 rods, and he spends like 40 more seconds trying to get a 6th rod. And the problem is the entire time he's killing blazes. So it wasn't like he was waiting and had to like make a decision. In his mind, he's like, okay, I'll kill a blaze, I'll get a 6th rod, and it's taken 2 seconds to get this. But that's like exactly the issue, is that those 2 seconds, if they don't drop, and now you're waiting for another spawner cycle, and now you're like, well, if I leave now, then it's going to be stupid because I just wasted 20 seconds. So I have to commit and stay, and
Sunk
you can really
cost
get caught in the
fallacy.
loop. Yeah, exactly. It's a huge sunk cost. But I completely forgot the original question. It was
Like,
what was it?
when would you leave on 5 if you
Oh,
like,
if it was great pace. Yeah.
yeah.
I think if there's any blazes even relatively close, it makes sense to kill another one, because like in the end, you're still playing for odds, right? Like you can argue that entering the end faster is more important, because like the odds of getting a perch in 130 is like way higher than getting the perch in sub 1 minute or whatever. So I mean, if you can kill, like in that run, I actually run past a blaze on the way to chords, and when I was watching it back, I'm like, oh, there's just no situation where I don't kill that blaze, and then I just leave after it, because then it's like, okay, it's 50-50. I'm leaving on 5 or 6, and it takes 3 seconds or whatever. I think I think I don't know. It really is just like a play style thing. There's no really wrong answer. And in my opinion, I think that like if you play risky for long enough and you play a lot, which is like kind of the thing I do, I play a lot and I reset hard. Like you can really warrant playing risky, because I can pretty confidently say I'll get pace similar to that. Like, and if I keep leaving on 5, it's gonna hit like pretty soon. Like statistically, it'll hit in like 1 in 3. It might take like 5 or 6 times, but that's like a risk I'm willing to take if I'm gonna be playing.
I So like, let's say, I don't know, just like random scenario, like you have 5, you see a 6th blaze, you're like in the middle of killing it, and it like flies out of your reach. Like, at what point is it too annoying, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's always hard and it's always like contextual. If it
Yeah.
was something like if I expected that I was gonna get to the stronghold at like 6:15, I probably would just leave because like I want to enter the end on world record pace if I'm on a good run.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it means like I'm gonna be risking that 1 in 3 chance. Like but if it's something like if it's really good pace and I can like pearl hang or I can like craft explosives or do like any sort of other thing while waiting for the blaze, which is I mean a pretty big part of fort split is overlap. Like I think you can really warrant waiting for that blaze to fly down if you just like have some other thing you're overlapping with it to justify it, if that makes
That's
sense.
fair. That makes
But
sense.
yeah, that does sound like a pretty like nightmare scenario. It's like this is cutting it close to world record pace and there's a blaze I can kill that, you
Yeah.
know, half the time is gonna make it so I can always enter the end and now it's just flying up and up and up and it's like kind of terrifying.
No, and like
Yeah.
if you make like if you leave on 5 and it's like a 2-eye, then you feel great. You're like, "Oh wow, I
Yeah.
made the right decision." And then if you know, it's a 1-eye, you're like haunted forever. And if you
Yeah.
like waste the time and it is like a 2-eye, then you like also feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the kind of a decision I made when I was thinking about it a while ago is like I would much rather post a YouTube video that's 6:03 Portal Room, 1 eye short, than post a video that's like in 8:30 and I lose a minute to just trying to kill a blaze for a 6 rod and not even need it. Like that was something I could say about the Priffin run, but again, in his case, it's so like tough because he was killing blazes the whole time.
Yeah.
Like there was no point when he was waiting for a spawn, so it makes it so hard to like just leave when you can just kill a blaze. You know, each of those times like, oh, it's 2 seconds. It won't take long at all. I can just leave after this, and it just never dropped. It's kind of a nightmare, but
Mhm.
I don't know. That's just kind of my. I'm really proud of pace, even if it dies to like taking a risk like that. If that makes sense. Like
Fair.
I'm really happy with all these strongholds I'm uploading, and I think people can kind of respect that, even if it's like
Yeah.
only 2 eyes or like only 10 eyes or 5 rods or whatever. That's just my opinion, though. It's definitely not like right or wrong. It's definitely always
Uh-huh.
going to be like a debate.
Yeah, it's a very bold mindset. I think a lot of people like after Dugile's recent sub APB, they're like, "Oh, these last two blazes he killed, they didn't drop and then he just left." Like, what if he just like
Yeah,
didn't kill them at all and he saves like a few
yeah,
seconds and gets world record, you know?
yeah. And I mean, that was another thing with Dugal's run is like he jumps and grabs the eye to get a 12th eye, and that ends up losing him the sub 745 at the time in this old PB. And
Mm,
I don't know. I think in general, I'd rather just like be like, you know, I took this risk, it didn't work out, that's okay, than be like, oh my god, I could have left 30 seconds earlier. I threw such a good run. But
mm-hmm.
another example I was going to use was I don't know if you remember the end of 2022, but Zalanox had like a 6:30 portal room when I think Dougal had world record, so it would have been just like a pretty good odds of world record. And then it was a 0-eye when he left pit
I
for the 1-eye.
think I was this that like really weird like ravine stronghold or is that a different run?
No, this was um it wasn't even great pace, but like he played a spawner and he killed some blazes like under the fort, and then he pearled to some weird pillar of netherrack. I don't know. But the thing that stood out was like a week later, Feinberg like played and got the 1-eye, and then like it was like second fastest end enter ever, and then didn't purge blah blah blah. But then like in a few months later, Zalanox played for the 1-eye and he got it and it was world record. And to me, that was like that is what I want to do. You know, if I'm
Mm,
losing good runs to just like leaving on like not getting the 1-eye or whatever, you know, if you're committed and you're willing to play, like it will hit. You aren't going to get
mm-hmm.
20 0-eyes in a row. Like you're not playing for the 0.0001% chance of getting unlucky that many times.
Mm-hmm.
And when No Fear had this run where he left on 5 and it was a 0-eye, I'm like now it feels like the prophecy is going to come true for No Fear. He's going to have some like crazy like run where he leaves on 5 and it hits, and that's exactly what happens. He gets world record. So it's
Yeah.
like it's definitely sort of like a placebo thing, and it's like there's not really a huge correlation there. It's probably a coincidence, but like to me, it feels like the people who are willing to take risks and out of the idea of like I'll get on this pace more, they get on pace more, and they hit the 25% chance thing, and then they get world record. And to me, it seems like that seems like 100% worth it. Like I think when you're going for
Mm.
something as lucrative as like a sub 730, like you have to be taking risks. You have to be
Yeah, every
gambling.
second counts.
Yeah, exactly.
This whole like topic and Dugal's for sub 8 reminds me someone commented like when he went he got the eye and wasted that time. This is like, oh, ranked brain rot. Like it's only because he's
Yeah.
been playing ranked. So I don't know, like I like we can shift the discussion, like how do you feel about ranked?
I'm not very good at ranked, to be honest. I mean, I've always been like top 20ish probably, and I feel
Uh-huh.
good about ranked, but I struggle a lot, and the main reason is because of that. You have to play safe. You get punished so hard for
Yeah.
having runs die, and that's honestly been a big reason why I don't play it much anymore. Is because the way I like playing RSG is just so vastly different from the way you have to play ranked. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And
Would you play in the ranked playoffs?
yeah, oh for sure. I'm definitely gonna play in that, and if unless I have like a scheduling issue because I'm going on vacation soon, like I definitely would love to like get into like a tournament like that. But
Uh-huh.
I also just real quick, I want to talk about that Dougal run, which
Yeah,
is
sure.
that on most seeds, going for one eye there is just fine because he has 0. He's re-entering the Nether at like 50x. He's going to chords. If the terrain to the second portal chords was even slightly better, it's world record, you know. And the thing is, like he like you I think it makes sense to play for like if I get this raw, I can take 10 seconds to get this eye, and on 95% of nethers, I'm gonna be entering the end like fast enough to beat world record, and I have 0. And I think that's something that I thought about like more and more thinking about that Dougal run is like he's totally justified to grab that eye there. And it probably is like in a sense ranked brain rot. I think Dougal makes a lot of decisions that are much more rooted in consistency than risk.
Mm,
But I think in that case, like of course I don't know what is going through his brain in that time, but like I think it really is just like a pretty like reasonable decision to make, even going for world record,
fair.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that run was second world run was like so hard to watch.
Yeah,
He was like
it's
digging through a
just so
wall for a
crazy.
minute.
Yeah, and it's still like it was still a 650 end enter with like a minute and a
Uh-huh.
half of
That's
digging. It's
crazy.
so insane. I mean that run really is a testament to like how just tiny issues with seeds can just completely kill any chance of a run being good, or like kill like the potential of a seed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any like MCSR role models?
Um, I mean the first few people that I kind of talked to and I guess idolized was like Migueli. He
Mm,
was someone who my friend gave me the stream to watch, so I watched his stream and I had a big fan of him, and then we ended up talking about runs and stuff. And he's always just had so much like faith in me. He's always kind of helped me dispel the imposter syndrome that I get. He's always like,
mm-hmm.
I've seen the potential in you for so long. You know, you get all this good pace, and I know you have the mindset and the grind set for it, and I know you can do it. And then every time, you know, it's like cool to do that. But in terms of people that I like watch a lot or like look up to, because Miguel is not too active in the community anymore. I mean, he was streaming today, but he doesn't much. Is like No Fear is a huge one. Zalanox is a huge one. Um, Griffin is a huge one. I think all these people who invest a lot of time into the game, and I really like their mindset, the grind, and kind of how much effort they put into the game and how much they care about it. I think those three are probably the biggest. No Fear, Zalanox, and Griffin.
Mm,
If I had to say,
that's a good list.
yeah.
Okay. Another question. What do you think makes you different from any other RSG runner?
Um, I I'm not really sure. Hold on. Open the door for my cat.
You're
Sorry,
good.
give me just 1 second, buddy.
Rare
Sorry.
cameo.
Sorry, he was just gonna be standing there meowing.
You're
But
good.
I think it's probably a combination of a lot. And I think the biggest things by far are how I like my upbringing into becoming a better runner, and then the time I commit. I think I work a full-time job, but the amount of time I pour into RSG is probably in the top like 10 people ever in the community.
Mm,
Um, that, and I really was lucky to be surrounded by a lot of great runners in the beginning that, you know, helped me develop good habits and helped me see what I was doing wrong, and so maybe sort of like guided me in the right direction. I remember Migueli early on into like doing RSG. He told me like you need to practice end games. It's going to be the most important thing. You should be practicing end games more than anything else. And that's something that I really lived by, and I think it was like one of the most important things that anyone's ever told me in the game.
mm. Do you have
So I
like
think I think go ahead.
do you have like a practice ratio, like how much time practice to how much time running?
Um, Not really a ratio. It's I think I just try and always practice between like 45 minutes and 2 hours, and then just do runs until I like can't do runs anymore. I think it is important to be doing both practice and running at every single point, though. I think a lot
Mm.
of people don't warm up at all and don't practice, and unless you're like a Feinberg, you're gonna like suffer the results.
A
Like so few
Feinberg.
people can do what Feinberg does, where you just don't practice, don't warm up, and you just kind of like play pretty like well all the time, like really good. And I
Yeah.
think a
Yeah.
lot of people just want to play RSG, and they just go in and they just play, and I think it makes you so much more prone to like one-off mistakes or like mechanical errors if you do that. Even if you're really talented and really good at it, like if you
Mm-hmm.
don't put in practice. And at the same time, if you practice a lot, you're going to get good at mechanics, but there's so much value in playing RSG more than just like, resetting for good seeds. Like you need to be playing the game to get in a lot of scenarios that you would just
Yeah,
never ever see in practice, if that makes sense.
that's fair. I remember Rain was probably one of the first ever to like really practice. Like
Yeah.
in 2020, 2021, he was doing like hours of practice every day. No one else
Yeah.
was doing anything except maybe like 5 minutes of one cycle practice before, their runs.
Yeah.
And it's really
I
funny because like at the time his viewers, or I don't know, maybe it's viewers, but people would be like, dude, like can you just like start doing runs? He do like 6 hours of like zero cycle. But I think things have changed a bit.
Yeah, and I think he's a pretty good example of why practice is so important, because if you like, he really cranked out so much good pace in such little time a few months ago. Like when he really put in his all, he was practicing like 3 to 4 hours at the beginning of every stream, and he'd play RSG and he'd get like a sub 10 and then a sub 9 pace and then a sub 9 the next day and then
Mm-hmm.
a sub 7 end enter and a sub 5 blind. He does all this pace so quickly because he's just putting in the time, like giving the time to like grow your mechanics. It really does pay off when you're top runner. Those
Mm-hmm.
little seconds of time saved from that are really significant when you're going for like sub 9s and sub 10s.
Do you have like a favorite run of all time? Or a few favorite runs?
Um,
They don't have to be your own.
yeah, I mean, I think, um, I mean, the Crooks run, of course, is just just a beautiful like show of skill, of consistency, of just like getting on the greatest pace ever by far and keeping your
Mm-hmm.
cool for so much of it. I think he played the Nether and the post blind like flawless. I think it was really impressive. Um, I'm trying to think of. I've watched so many speedrun, like so many runs. A while when I was first learning the game, I think I watched every single sub 12 PB on like my leaderboard,
Every
which was.
single.
Yes, yes. And a big part of that is like my job has a lot of downtime where I can like do work while watching stuff, but I literally watched every single run. And I think I'm trying to think of some. I can literally just pull up the leaderboard and think, but like, um, oh, Camo's run is amazing. I mean, Camo's run is really cool. I think it's probably one of the most heartbreaking moments in RSG, and it's gonna stay that way forever. I mean,
Mm.
the dragon flying is so tragic, but that run is really good.
I like how
I'm
you noted like two quote unquote failed runs so far.
yeah. I mean, I really like watching pace in general.
Mm,
Good runs. I don't know. I don't want to be biased, but I really like my 8 flat PB is really, I really like that run
mm,
because again, it was a lot of unluckiness and it was a lot of like persevering. It was a pretty slow bastion. It was pretty low food. It was a caved first portal. Um, but I feel like even over all of that, I played it pretty well. Well, I like that Arachi run, that sub 7 end enter. I think I have a lot of respect for runs when I try and play the seed and I can just never make it work. Like I
oh
play
yeah,
it
I
like
know what you
5 times and
mean.
I'm like, I don't know how they did this first try because I just like can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, those are probably some of my favorites. I mean, there's probably runs I'm just like not thinking of. I'm just blanking on, but
That's a good
I don't know.
list.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the world records nowadays are like that. Like people run them back as they always do, and it's like even hard to beat the times.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like if you try and play no fear seed, it's hard to do a 5 minute
Because yes,
first
the
portal.
force
And
split
granted,
is so
granted the
fast.
fourth split, yeah, the fourth split is like 30 seconds or whatever. Granted, it's a big part of it, but like even just like he plays this the end game really well, and I mean the nav is perfect, and the zero
Yeah,
cycle is good.
that's
Like
crazy.
there's not a lot of time lost in these runs. You know, it's really tough to try and beat the pace on it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you have any predictions for the next the first world record of 2024?
Um. I really think I'm gonna get it. I don't want to toot my own horn, and I try to keep like my ego in check, but I really feel like I'm gonna. I really think I can put in the effort and put in the time to grind, and I can get the world record. If
I think
not me
that's the
though,
mindset you need to have.
yeah, yeah, oh for sure. I think if not me, I think No Fear could totally just get it again. He's playing
Mm.
a lot and he's really, really fast and he's really, really good. I think there's a pretty good chance. And then I think the sleeper pick that people aren't thinking about is Xylonox is going full force right now and he is resetting like no one has ever done. I watched him reset, I think he was at it was 530 and he had 3 rods with 20 obby and he just resets instantly. And I think that mindset, so few people would ever do that. I think that's
Wow.
like such an admirable thing to want to play for world record that strictly. So I
Yeah.
think things like that is big. I'm keeping my eye on Xylonox for sure because he's definitely someone who, I mean, if you forget about him, he's gonna surprise you.
Mm. Now that is, I mean, that sounds like really good pace. And then I think about it, like you have 2 minutes to kill the
Yeah,
dragon and finish the game.
yeah.
Like
I
that's
mean,
just not
that's
great pace anymore.
yeah, and I think it's a lot of people are just like, oh, I would love I can place out and get a quick sub 9 or sub 10, but I mean,
Yeah.
Xylonox has always been someone who like I mean, especially recently, it's like I'm not gonna waste my time with this. If it's not entry on world record pace, I'm not playing it.
Hmm.
And so few people have like the mindset to do that.
I keep running into like a similar wall when I've been playing AA a little recently. Nothing too serious,
Yeah.
but you at this point for like a subject area, you basically have to finish everything but like debris and endgame by like around 2 hours. And
That's
it's
insane.
very frustrating because like I don't know, the time just creeps up on you anyways, but I'll be at like 150 of like 2 biomes left, and it's just like, wow, this just like isn't good enough, even though like so many parts of the run felt good. You just have to,
Yeah.
be strict about
I
yourself.
mean, that's the thing. That's the thing about world record is that it's always so lucky, and it's like already a good pace run. Like if you're playing for just world record, like there's so few like end game starts you can even do. Like if I'm playing for only world record, like I have to blind sub 530 or else there's no
Mm-hmm.
reason to play it unless you're playing for like a stronghold blind, which just isn't worth it.
Yeah.
But AA is something that I mean when I played it, I had a little like week long AA arc and I got a quick sub 5 with some good
Nice.
backseating, but I mean, to cut that run in half is so insane, and to be done with everything but like debris and endgame at 2 minutes is ridiculous. Like just thinking of how well everything has to go, all the RNG has to line up. Like I can't imagine how many times you have to like play the mid game to get something that even
Yeah.
as like I know runners like you and Leon have all like such great knowledge of all of these splits, all these advancements to get everything done, and like I can't even imagine like even being that good at everything, like getting a run where everything lines up so perfectly to get something like a sub 230. That's
Do you think
insane.
you would ever get into AA competitively?
It's really fun. I mean, honestly, I haven't really thought about it because I've been so focused on any percent, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's impossible. I it's definitely not like something I am super like I
Uh-huh.
super would want to do, but I mean if I get world record, like I probably am gonna want to do something else.
Yeah,
Well,
have you
we'll
ever
see.
like thought like if you do, let's say tomorrow you get the RSG world record, sub 7, you're super happy with the run, everyone goes crazy. What do you do after?
I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know if I could even take a break. Like, I feel like the more I look at No Fear, I'm like, I kind of feel that. But No Fear's run is like he has paced so much better than that, and it was just like the end
Yeah.
game just kind of worked out. But I don't know. I think there's a good chance I just keep playing, especially if it's something like a 720 or like something that barely beats the
Yeah.
world record or something that I'm not super happy with. I really feel like I could keep grinding and just go for something better, but I mean, obviously we'd have to see. So hopefully we'll find out the answer to that question soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm rooting for you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and then like one last topic that you brought up is like what do you think are the most important things to practice at various levels of Minecraft speedrunning?
Okay, I mean, I could talk about practice a lot because, or like how to improve quickly because I spent a lot of time in that Runners Improvement Program server, and I like to
Uh-huh.
like make streams about reviewing runs with Griffin and by myself and stuff. But I think when you're first starting out, the places where people lose runs the most is the Bastion. I think you really it's like a huge investment to learn every Bastion like a lot more than you think you would need to know it
Mm.
because I find myself losing runs to things like, oh, I didn't know you could mine these 2 blocks to get to the chest and stables quicker, or oh, I didn't know you could do this route if you ever enter at this exact spot. I think
Mm-hmm.
that like knowing too much about bastions is so like such a great like benefit a lot of runners have.
So this is like beginner level? I mean, like
Yeah, yeah.
everyone should learn that,
Like going
obviously.
like going for sub 20. I think when like
Okay,
even going
okay.
for sub 20, you can take the time like take a little extra time and be like, okay, I'm gonna learn a couple more bastion routes than I need to, or I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
like look and see how I can go from chest to chest and things like that. But I think once you're going for something like a sub 13 or sub 12,
Yeah.
I think end games are a huge place for improvement for a lot of runners of that caliber. I think
Mm.
being able to just like measure an eye quickly, re-enter quickly, maybe do a death reset if you need to, and then going to chords quickly and then like navving quickly. I think those are things that a lot of runners struggle with. And that's why it's so hard to get on pace. Because a lot of good runners like a sub 3 endgame isn't really that crazy, or like a sub 330 endgame. And if you think
Mm-hmm.
about that, if you're going for sub 12, a sub 330 endgame is an 830 blind. And I think a lot of sub 12 runners can farm sub 7 blinds, like pretty commonly. So that
Mm.
you have to think like, what is the point that they're not, getting that sub 12 pace? And to me, it really seems like the end game is where a lot of runners are falling short. So practice your end games. Go do that post blind split on people practice. Go nav some strongholds, learn zero.
Uh-huh.
And then at the top, I mean, I'm still learning myself, but I think you have to do those little second time saves, like learning 2x1
Mm.
or learning a better bucket list portal, or you know, I think you really have to commit, even if it's a lot of time to learn. You have to learn those really
Mm-hmm.
niche, tough things.
Is there like one super niche tiny strat that you feel like everyone should be doing? Like the most tiniest niche thing
Ooh,
ever that
that's a good
like no
question.
one else does or barely anyone else does. You're like, guys, we gotta hop on this.
I mean, this isn't super niche anymore. I mean, it's in the world record, but I think thin BT is something that people are so hesitant to do. But I can attest that I was like opposed to it at first, and I thought it was dumb. But I could never go back to doing non-thin BT scanning. It's a different universe. Like it's hard to explain in words, but I think I probably saved like 3 seconds on every BT split ever since starting to do it and like getting good at it.
Mm.
So even if you're like going for sub 15, if you're playing BTs at all, like I would recommend watching those Priffin videos and setting up the thin resolution for BT. It's life changing, to be honest. Not to
Well,
exaggerate, but it's life changing.
there you have it. Change your life. Pick up Thin BT.
Exactly.
Everything will be better. Okay. Well, this was great. Maybe I think we're
Yeah,
gonna end off here.
sweet.
This is really fun. Um, I just wanted to ask you right before we end, are there any people you think that should also come on the podcast?
I mean, I'm always gonna say Priffin because he's someone I'm really
Okay.
close in the community. Um, I think Danny would be good. I think he is really smart. I'm not sure how much he's doing speedruns these days, but I think he'd be a good brain to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I had to pick one more, I think honestly, I think Jade or Mimi or
Mm.
Pony or whatever name you know her, because she
Yeah.
she is someone
Whatever
who
name.
I think she is a lot more knowledgeable than a lot of people think about. Like whenever I talk to her, it's always kind of it's like surprising at how like how smart she is, I guess you could say. At how like she knows stuff that I feel like I spend so much time learning things, and she knows things I've never even heard of. Like, and I
Mm.
think that she also has spent a lot of time thinking about all these things like reset efficiency, about practice, and I think she'd be a good mind to pick.
Let me no leaks, but let me just show you a screenshot of who else I've asked so far.
See, oh yeah, I mean you can't go wrong with him for sure. I mean, yeah, I would say the first one, but I mean, I think that it's pretty obvious that he would
Yeah.
be an amazing guest. Yeah,
All right. Yeah, I think that's about it. But thanks so much for coming on. This was
yeah, of course.
really instructive, I think, maybe. So thanks for your time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea for a podcast. It really feels like you're filling a space that has been empty for a while. I think that podcasts about this kind of thing are something that like a lot of people could benefit from, and I'm also honored that you picked me to be, one of, if not the first episode of it. So thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks.